Hello, everybody. So my name is Ricardo Cruz, and we're the group MosDef. And I'm gonna let my group mates introduce themselves.
Alright, I'm Santos De La Paz.
Julio Demara.
Nora Delgado.
Salvador Delgadillo.
Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna start off by introducing our topic for this video, which is rise of the MC. So we're gonna talk about the MC as witness, challenger, and advocate. And we're going to question those notions as to who they refer to and who is the speaker of those. And so to start off, I'm going to start off by saying the quote that was in the syllabus, which is, "Times is tough and rough like leather." And with that being said, we're going to jump straight into MosDef's Dollar Day, which we believe embodies MC as witness. Alright, so who wants to start off?
Well, I feel that MosDef captures the real meaning of witness. Just how he explains how Katrina was handled by the government, which was fairly poorly. He even says that the president doesn't even like them, and of course there's a lot of controversy, but MosDef puts it in a way that kind of like us can relate to, because it's in a song, it's rap, and you can actually feel like his anger towards the government.
Okay. So in this song, he's implicating a lot of parts of the government, and that's okay, I guess. To us, we're just listening to a song. To the government, they're pretty much getting the middle finger thrown at them. And so, do you guys think that makes it okay? Like, is that okay for him to talk about the government in that way?
Well, he definitely, I don't know if he's from Louisiana or whatever, but he's obviously telling a story, so it must be meaningful to him, and I feel like nowadays the news don't tell the real story of what's going on. So that's how you have the rappers kind of being the witnesses, and kind of really telling the story. So he starts off in the song. So there's a story about the lady in Louisiana. She's a flood survivor in the rescue team, So she's obviously telling a story that people don't really know about, and like how he says at the beginning in the intro of that video. He's telling, so the president, he can't save your life, he can't do everything for you. So you're going to have to be responsible for your community, so he's just serving as a witness and kind of like, kind of like a teacher and kind of like a person that's raising awareness in the hood,
Just like in the one video that we saw that, I forgot who said it, but it said that the rapper is basically the reporter of the ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think this means.
I feel like it definitely puts in perspective, just certain events or things that happen in everyday life that most people don't really take the time or don't really hear about, because it's so not really seen or as important in the media and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, with that being said, Katrina was obviously something that was very much reported. It was all over the news. Then, even though it was all over the news, why do you think it took so long for them to reply, and why do you think MosDef finds it important to bring that up?
Well, I don't think nobody, especially in the government, was taking responsibility for it. I know that they didn't build levees correctly or something, or strong enough or high enough. And
they ignored the warnings years before that.
Yeah, exactly. So
blame game too. A blame game. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on that? What do you mean by the blame game?
Cause there's a defense, the security defense. I don't know, some bullshit like that has to respond to those kind of things, those emergencies, and it has to go through, and I guess Bush, with the president that was at the time, was supposed to sign it, but he lagged 3 days, and he bullshitted and said that. I don't know. It was just a blame game. He did it, she did it, and
That goes back to him blaming the president. No, do you guys remember Kanye West saying that President Bush hated black people? I don't know if you guys remember that. It was very controversial. It takes you again to the rapper or hip hop kind of testimony to this.
Yeah, and then if you go look back into Louisiana, you notice that that's a lot of African Americans, not a lot of white people. So if you think about it, if it would have been a community where say Miami or in Florida or something, that would have happened, obviously there was going to be evacuations and, extra enforcements and all of that. But since it was in Louisiana, kind of
it wasn't in our economic status.
Exactly. They thought that, okay, well, that's an insignificant community, and we already need to rebuild that. Get the dirt out of there and, rebuild it already,
Yeah, and going back to the song, this song helps it like kind of put pressure on the government
Right.
to like
Yeah.
take action.
Yeah. Or yeah, man.
What do you think?
Well, I think it makes a statement on preparation because Louisiana or the states that were affected by Katrina, they were badly hurt. You know, it was all over the news, and the government. I think it was unwise for them to take as long as they did because we see them as these people who could care less about these locations. But then to play devil's advocate, you kind of have to put yourself in their shoes and see how the reason behind why they were taking so long. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was no preparation, there was no prep plan made for these locations, which says a lot about why. Like, why weren't there any plans ready, even though they know that the levees were unstable
Yeah.
and they were warned. So why wasn't a plan implicated? So
I feel like it kind of goes back to like the whole thing, like the people like in that certain area, like their struggles don't really matter as much like to the government. Like there's other things that they prioritize over that.
right.
Right.
And so, why do you think MosDef finds it important to remind us of that? Do you think he's kind of creating a metaphor of that location to being like places that we consider ghetto here? Like, is he using that as a symbol or metaphor for those places? And he's kind of telling us like, look, the government isn't. What happened in Katrina is happening every single day.
Yeah.
In these rural locations that nobody pays attention to. Somehow they're always being told about it, but nothing's being done. So, do you think that's what he's trying to do as the witness for this?
Yeah, I think that like he, as part of that, and also that he just wants to express his frustration towards his people. You know, like not his people, his community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think, Saul?
Yeah, I think
I was
I
gonna
know.
bring.
Go ahead, man.
man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just calling it how he sees it, and a lot of people even in especially in the news, they don't do that. They kind of get influenced by the people with the money. To what to say and not to say. So MosDef is just seeing it as like another human being and being like, okay, this happened, and then there's somebody to blame. But forget who we gotta blame. Let's just from now on, let's take care of ourselves. And let's raise awareness between ourselves because we don't need the government and they can't do everything for us. I go back to that.
Also, I want to bring up that when Katrina hit, the rich did make it out. So like all the blacks, all the ones that were left behind went to the stadium. So how was it that the rich got to get out, but all the ghetto didn't? Because there was only so much time they had to evacuate. Obviously, the ghetto people didn't have vehicles and shit, but still.
And that goes back to what he says that Mr. President, he about that cash. He got a policy from handling the niggas and trash, and if you're poor, you're black. So basically, of course, there's kind of like a connection between being poor and being a minority here.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that we're talking about money, I think it's a good point that he raised. I want to read these lyrics first. God save these streets, $1 per every human being. Feel that Katrina clap, see that Katrina clap. God save these streets, quit being cheap, nigga, freedom ain't free. So I think this obviously goes back to money, and I like the line that quit being cheap, nigga, freedom ain't free, because it kind of makes you think like, yeah, it's not free. To be free, you kind of have to be like financially stable, emotionally stable, all kind of stable, and none of that is free. You have to work for it, and sometimes that workforce implicates worse like personal emotional dilemmas, and so eventually it just becomes this whole mess that you can't really buy yourself out of, but you can buy yourself in.
Right.
And so I think that's another perspective that he's raising with those lyrics. So he's being the witness to the problems that are being caused by money and by the people using that money.
Not only that, but like I also feel like the privileged are privileged because of money. They are the ones that can kind of like get out of like certain situations, whereas like someone who's poor or doesn't have those same like opportunities or whatever, it becomes a lot harder to like escape those struggles, like
Yeah.
those everyday struggles.
And even yeah, like so now I'm just trying to like picture myself like when all of that is happening, and so think about it: the people with money and resources, they have somewhere else to go, maybe family, you know, and they have the opportunity and the flexibility to leave the house behind, which is not, you know, for like a poor people, for like a poor person. If you're, you know, you paid for your house and that's all you got, where else can you go? You know, exactly, and you know, so everything is getting destroyed. So I feel like that kind of was a struggle also for people, like not wanting to live. I mean, leave, you know, the places that they were living at, their houses, you know, everything they got, basically.
Okay. Does anybody else have any lingering thoughts left before we move on to the second one? No? Okay. Yeah?
No.
Alright, so with that being said, so it's kind of evident that MosDef was kind of portraying a witness in this song. And so then he ends his song with "Don't talk about it, be about it." So he's kind of telling you like you should be finished talking about it and you should be taking action. So that goes into the MC as challenger. It's taking him out. It's taking people out of. It's kind of the witness is kind of opening people's eyes and then telling them like now you have to do something about it. And so it goes into the MC being as a challenger, kind of guiding us to see how we can challenge to these notions of social construction. So with that, to embody the MC as a challenger, we're gonna analyze what were we gonna analyze?
Get by.
Get by. Do you guys know how to pronounce the name?
Khalid as well. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
All right.
Khalid. And in bar you charge it?
Yeah.
Is it the same?
Should be.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna study "Get By" by Talib Kweli. So what about this song, or what kind of lyrics do you guys want to bring up that kind of? First, we're gonna prove that this rapper, this MC, is the challenger. So how can we show that?
Well, I think to me, one line that really stands out about being a challenger is when he says, "I think about a struggle and I find the strength in myself." So
Okay.
basically, like, you shouldn't give up when you're down. You know, life's about getting up. So like, if you're not in the right circumstance, so like, you know, sometimes you just find yourself in a really bad place, don't give up. Don't put your head down. Just like he says, you at least get by, and eventually things will get better. So just put yourself forward, and that's what a challenger is. You know, he's not gonna give up. He's gonna challenge life so he succeeds what he wants.
So what the challenger is trying to tell us, or what this song is trying to tell us about being a challenger, is that we have to do it ourselves. That we have to trust ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's tie this back to Thoreau. In Thoreau's Walden, he reminds his readers that he thinks it's important for everyone to pursue their own thing, as long as you don't resist. And another thing that he brings up is that as long as you don't resist, you are a tool of injustice. So the MC is literally is kind of embodying that message from Thoreau, kind of saying, if you don't do something, you're just becoming an advocate of that injustice. So do you guys see any lines in this song where that can like further this notion, or do you guys want to bring another line up?
I think where it says feeling my highs and my lows in my soul and my goals. It just kind of like, I feel like it kind of allows you to like, or like it's trying to tell you like let things fall into place, and like eventually from there like things will get better. Like, but despite like don't let whatever you're going through or your struggles or anything like get to you or stop you from, you know, like wanting to do better. You get me?
And then he says just to stop smoking and stop drinking. I've been thinking like on my reasons. And even though he just puts like two simple things like smoking or drinking, there's people that really struggle with this kind of stuff. So I think it's kind of like a metaphor to like don't just stop at smoking or drinking. Stop at like doing anything else, like something that really hurts you. Just stop. Like any addiction or anything, just be a better person.
He's kind of saying
like challenge yourself.
Nothing's too small and nothing's too big. Like you can challenge it because you can.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna bring up that he mentions my goals. You know, like just define a goal. A goal is something that you have to work for, that you have to reach. So I think that's important of him to put in there because a lot of times, can you move the? A lot of times, a lot of music, and I'm not gonna specify to specifically hip hop, but a lot of music is like live in the moment, like enjoy today. Where he's like, no, make up your goals and think about the future. Like you have to figure out what you're gonna work for, and if it takes for you to stop smoking and to stop drinking, then you have your reasons, but those are necessary steps. So he's kind of like telling us, review your life. You can live in the moment, but you have to set goals. Because he's saying, I'm feeling high, I'm feeling low. That's right now.
Yeah.
But then he's like, enjoy that, but you have to set goals just like I am.
Yeah. I don't know if it's actually enjoying that because to like the first verse of the song, it says we sell crack to our own the back of our homes. So he's kind of just saying the struggle, like and then from like where I come from or whatever, from my personal experience, you have to do sometimes you have to do shit that it doesn't really go with your beliefs and your principles, really like sometimes you violate your own beliefs, and you don't feel like you're the person, like because you had to feed your family when you didn't have a job, so what does that take? Whatever it takes, sell crack to your own, how, and then for me, like I feel like that's the struggle from every drug dealer at the beginning, like how you're gonna sell poison to your own people, but then it gets to the point where like that stops mattering and really just making it out and kind of making something for yourself starts becoming more important, And then so it says just to get by, just to get by. So I like how you said that. Yeah, live the moment, but set goals for yourself. I say like for me, I had to do a lot of this shit. But look where I am now. I'm in college. I didn't want to follow that lifestyle and kind of end up in prison and follow being a gangster all my life. I had to do some stuff. That I had to do to be here. To survive. So I kind of get where he's coming from, and then challenging yourself. Definitely stop smoking, stop drinking. I feel like with the pain and struggle and kind of not being yourself at all times, that's just pain that you're gonna accumulate inside. And a lot of people, they don't have counselors, they don't have a person to talk to. So what they do, they smoke it out, or they drink it all out.
Right. That's
I
good.
feel like he also puts himself kind of like an example, and also his abuela, cause his grandma. He says in the line, "Mi abuela raised $3 all by herself with no help." This just shows like he's kind of giving like hope. Like, look, if people can do this, which that's a really hard task, by like it's just putting Alex in example and like challenging people to like top that kind of, or like at least get there.
Go against where you're. There's a phrase. It's like go against what does he 40 say? Go against. Like like we're supposed to be like. I'm not supposed to be in college either. Like I never give a fuck about school either. So like all my homeboys are fucking going to jail and doing all this bullshit. So I went against it,
Yeah.
Like we challenged, like our parents, dog. Like my parents are immigrants, so they challenged. Like they left their fucking city, they left everything they knew, migrated here and fucking made it. So it's like that's what he's telling. That's what he's basically telling everybody, right? Like fucking go against it. Go against the what is it? Go against the grain or go against the
current? I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Like I feel like it becomes kind of like a means to an end in which like in order to like get out of like certain struggles or whatever, like you have to do whatever you have to do, but like never losing sight of like what is like actually really important to you, like no matter how perhaps selfish it might be, but like it's for your own benefit. So you can end up somewhere better than perhaps where you started off.
Right. And I like how you said how sometimes we forget. We enter the system and then we forget our roots, how we're supposed to help. And I think he brings that up too because he says the TV got us reaching for stars. So when I first read that, I was kind of like, okay, the TV, there's a lot of shows, everybody wants to be famous, or at least a lot of people who I know want to be famous. And it's got you literally reaching for the stars. Like, not everybody can become that because not everybody's the same way. And so,
So what does it mean by that though? Because it could be different meanings. Because the star, like, you're talking about like the actors, or is it talking about like the stars themselves?
Hold on, give me a minute.
I'm gonna.
All right. Can you hear us, Delan?
Oh no, you can't pause it though.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
I mean, you can just let it roll. Are you gonna take off? Okay.
Alright, man.
So one of our group members, Saul, left, and then another one joined. So this is Delan from back home. Maybe I can prove it. Put it closer.
It's me.
So he's gonna join the conversation with us through the computer. Can you fix that?
How are you guys?
Alright, see you, Saul. Alright,
Should
so
we put them like closer or that's
no,
cool?
that's fine.
Just try to speak a little louder, dude. Good?
Is that fine?
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
you're
Let's
good.
go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Alright, cool, thanks.
Alright, so we were talking about the MC as the challenger, and I brought up a line from Get by Talib Kweli that says the TV goddess reaching for stars. And before Saul left, he kind of questioned, like, is that a good thing, or what was his question?
Is it really like meaning the stars as like the life successful, or does he mean like the stars as like the actual stars, or like in what context or
Well,
what sense are they saying it?
I think he's meaning it metaphorically, you know, reaching in life, or not even in life, in money. Like, the more money you have, the better you are. But that's not the point that I want to raise. The point that I want to raise is that TV kind of mesmerizes
Yeah.
you. It kind of shows you this life that you want, and then you completely forget about your own life, and you fuck up. So I think that's what he's trying to raise. with
It
that
shows
line.
you like the success, not the struggle to get there.
Okay.
Well, that's what I think. That's what it means
Right.
that TV has, like you said, memorized, right? So I think TV just shows you like the pretty side of life, not the whole struggle.
Right, and I think it connects with like commercialism and materialism, where like, you know, all the stars have like brand, you know, clothes, and you know, and they're always smiling, and you know, got nice cars and all of this stuff. And so for people that don't have anything, they look at this, like, say for example, like rappers like who, Chief Keef or something, you know, 17-year-old from Chicago, and you know, like what is he rapping about? Bang bang, and you know, like only he got guns or whatever, he smoked weed, he, you know, bitches or whatever, and that's basically brainwashing, you know, the youth. So you know, when they look at Chief Keef, they're like, man, he does this, and that, and he got money. Why, you know? And that's basically the only role models that you see in the hood. You know, who else comes back to the community and be like, okay, let me show you this way out. You know, because that rarely happens. You know, when somebody makes it out, they don't want to come back. You know, especially when it's like a dangerous place like Compton, or you know, or like Oakland, or you know, like stuff like that. So I feel like, yeah, definitely they kind of make you fantasize about this other world that, you know, very few people could get to, but you're still gonna die trying, you know, to try to get there, you know, and that's what pollutes your head. Because in reality, to be happy, you don't need all of this money and all of these cars, you know. I mean, in reality, but for some people, you know, you get brainwashed and that's all you believe.
Right.
I mean, like, going off of that, like, I definitely feel like, you were talking about, like, this whole, like, lifestyle, but,
Mhm.
like, I also feel like within, like, normal, like, society, or, like, amongst, like, normal people, like, it causes, like, an inconformity, like, you know, like, you're not happy, like, anymore with what you have. You want to be, like, you know, like, this person over here or that person over there, you know? And then, like, that leads to even more struggles, you know, like, not being happy with, like, what you have.
Yeah.
I feel that's part of the challenge, though, right? Not to confirm yourself, like with what you have, like be
Right.
better. But of
Right.
course, don't like go for something like you said, cheap Keef, which is just garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
Do
And
you
also,
have-
go ahead.
Do you have anything to add, Delon, on the MC
this-
being challenger?
Like, because this is about, like, us reaching out for the stars, right?
Yeah.
Right, like, it's
I feel
challenging
like-
the system.
I feel like it's kind of, how do I explain this? It's like they have us reaching for like a certain lifestyle, but like I don't like in the way he uses it. It's like they have us reaching for stars. It's like they want us to kind of want that. They kind of like it's like the people in control of like what we look up to and what we see and all that. Like they want us to want to be like, you know, Chief Keef and all those artists.
Right.
But like they don't, at the same time they don't show us, you know, like, yeah, these are the stars, these are our celebrities, but like at the same time I feel like they're not showing us the true stars. It's kind of like what we think are stars,
Right.
because I feel like realistically most of us aren't going to be doing that kind of thing. Like I don't ever see any time where like they like praise someone who won like a Nobel Prize, you know. It's
Right.
always about,
those who are having the most fun, or what seems like the most fun, those are our stars,
Right.
It's like a lot of times they feel like slaves,
Right.
like Kanye's song, and a lot of artists always talk about it's like slavery, like they're almost doing this because they have to,
Right.
so like maybe it's more symbolic in the sense that, yeah, like we're reaching for the stars, but if we look at them, they're not actually happy, and they express that in their music, that like, that's them trying to be happy, but they're not feeling happy, and maybe it's like in a sense it's like the way everybody is because they look up to that.
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like that's what I kind of think.
Right. Okay. Did you have anything to add?
Well, I just want to say about the whole TV thing, how it has brainwashed. He also points out that rap is the only thing that some people have. Like he says, number of prisons that evict them black in the vision. Oh wait, yeah, shit, and all they got is rapping to listen to, which basically he's telling that rapping has a lot of influence in, I guess, relating to them and like acknowledging like their struggles, I guess.
Right. Okay. So we've agreed that this MC was being the challenger, and now we're gonna move on to the MC being a champion or an advocate of some sort. And I think a lyric of this song also ties well with that. It says, "Yo, our activism attacking the system, the blacks and Latins in prison." So I think what's most important about that line is the "Yo, our activism attacking the system." I think he says attack because that's how the government sees it. They see it as they're attacking us to make us kind of appear as the bad guy. But what we're really doing is just like, hey, you're doing this wrong. We're just like advocating for the treatment of the system. They're taking advantage of the system. So I think we're going to move well into the MC as being advocate, and we're going to talk about Goody Mob's I Refuse Limitation. Right, so who wants to start that off?
I just want to start that like the title itself is powerful. I refuse limitation,
Right.
and it just sets the whole tone for what we're gonna talk about and the song.
Right. So he's being an advocate of literally refusing limitation. Like he's being an advocate, like, hey, you can pursue goals, and once you pursue those goals, you pursue more goals. Like there's never an end. You can always become a different and more advanced human being.
Yeah. I feel like he's also the challenger, sorry for interrupting. Because obviously I refuse limitations, like you're not gonna, he's basically saying you're not gonna put barriers, around what I could do. You're not gonna put a ceiling of how, to how tall I could grow, So basically, yeah, it's just challenging and advocating, for the bettering of oneself.
Right.
I feel like it's also like, kind of like saying like, like I'm not gonna put up with this shit anymore. Like, like this is how far like I'm willing to take, and like, from here on, like the system, like can't or shouldn't really stop me. Like what I'm gonna do is gonna be like for my own good.
Okay.
And in the chorus, he says, the chorus just explains it all. Like he suffered from struggles, and in the end, he says, "Because I just can't settle for these streets, for me in ghetto, and I refuse," which is explains his thoughts.
Do you have anything to say, Delan?
I mean, yeah, just like what Julio just said. Like they start off in the street. He started off in the street, and what a lot of people like more upper class people would consider. If you're born in the street, you kind of stay there.
Right.
It's like assumed that you're always gonna be in this. It's like this repeating cycle. And a lot of times, most people accept it. If you're in the ghetto, you kind of accept it, and you kind of learn to embrace it, but you never learn to get out. And that was him. This was him learning how to get out and telling them that he reduces limitation by getting out.
Right.
By breaking that barrier.
Right.
Man. I just want to elaborate a little bit on that. Like, sorry, I don't know. That threw me out. Can you repeat it a little bit?
Do you guys know what he said?
Hey, can you repeat that again a little bit?
Like the last part.
The last part?
My last part?
Yeah.
Like, how he was, like, part of, like, that, that ghetto, that urban, lifestyle, like, and then, like, he kind of, like, that's what's expected, like, people in the ghetto kind of learn to embrace it and, like, kind of keep it, like, accept that that's the way life is going to be, and he, like, broke out of it, and this song was him saying he broke out of that, like, that cycle.
Right. Okay, so now I remember what I wanted to say. So, to elaborate on that, so there's a lot of people in the hood that kind of like, when they hear like shots being fired or whatever, they kind of take it as normal. And when you see like 152 liquor stores, around every corner, like it kind of becomes normal for you to like see a youth with alcohol, like see a young person with alcohol. So like definitely like breaking all that cycle and kind of stop drinking, because drinking is like alcohol is so available for anybody. So it's easy to get addicted, to it. It's easy for somebody to go pick up a gun because there's guns everywhere, So what he says, it's so hard to break the cycle, and once you really get out, you definitely change your mentality, and you see like, damn, like really, like somebody getting killed every day is not all right, Somebody shooting at somebody else is not all right, So yeah, definitely.
Like definitely stepping out of like that status quo, like out of that norm, like really puts things in perspective, and like kind of like shows you how to be an advocate, to like like think like this is not okay, like for like certain situations, or like for certain like events to happen like in everyday life, that some people like to some people it's like become normal, like kind of challenges that.
Yeah.
Also, the professor said something in class that actually touched me in relation to being an advocate. She said, the struggle is the struggle of transformation. So, I think when people think of an advocate, or people try to convince others to like join the cause, do this for us, do that, a lot of people are just like, damn, that's hard. Like, it's hard stepping out of my comfort zone and doing this, because it's really hard. But this line is kind of saying the struggle is a struggle of transformation. She's kind of like, it's not easy, but if you want things to transform, to become different, you have to go through that struggle. There's no going around it. It will always be there. So I think she's kind of telling us like to get strength.
And I feel like it'll also like give more meaning, or like have more worth, like after you've gone through those struggles, after you've like gotten out of like those certain situations that were not ideal.
Right. I think a major theme of this section was like self-love and self-preservation and you just have to help yourself. And I think that's her main message with this. Like, you have to love yourself, and you have to care for yourself, and then you have to go back and help those who helped you, and give back in a way.
Like, just trying just makes you a champion, I think. It's just going for it. Like, if you don't succeed, well, you don't succeed, but at least try. I think that's what it gets to.
Right. And, alright, so now that we've discussed all three, I just want to raise this quick point. I think the message that I got from this whole unit was that, that the MC sometimes is a truth sayer, kind of like in a bunch of Shakespeare plays. Like, there's always this blind guy, or this deaf guy, or this person who's like the truth sayer, who speaks and says the truth, but nobody ever follows it, and then all this shit happens. So I feel like the rapper is being the truth sayer to us. He's telling us what he sees, what to do, and he's advocating for steps to be taken. So I think that's the main message that she's trying to tell us.
Right. Well, I think it's the underground, definitely MCs. The underground rappers, because the mainstream rappers, they just perpetuating the whole system and the cycle.
Good point.
So it's definitely and it goes back to the heart of hip hop and the essence of it. Like hip hop started because they wanted to save the struggle. And kind of to help them get through the day. And help everybody unify and be together and feel like you have a common struggle.
Right.
I think that's what MCs strive for. That's what they feed off of. Like, oh, I'm gonna say my story, and hopefully it touches you, so we can like join as a group.
Definitely. I feel like they also kind of give like that wisdom that we need, that we don't necessarily see for ourselves.
Right.
But so just that last question. So what makes an MC different than the regular person? Why can't the regular person say what's going on?
I feel their struggles, like their experience. Like, honestly, I haven't experienced what this guy says.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what this MCs say, like, it's really, like, touching and deep, and it just tells you, like, what, they'll do anything, basically, to feed their family, or just to get by, or, like, all this kind of stuff. And I never experienced that, but because they've been rapping about this, like, I can kind of relate to it, and see their struggle, and it makes me want to help them, or help the cause, to eliminate all the struggles.
Like, I feel like not only that, but like I feel like they also have like a bigger voice, like than just kind of like a normal person, because they probably do have a little bit more fame. They do have a little bit more power, and they are able to like reach out to people rather than just a normal person who like, you know, perhaps won't be heard or listened to like as much as, you know, an MC.
I respect
Well,
You get me?
All right, you guys. So we're at 35 minutes. So does anybody else have one last thing to say?
Yeah.
Go on.
Anything?
Well, I mean, going off that real quick, I'd say like I think it's based on their ability to learn from their past mistakes and experiences. Like a lot of MCs always talk about like their experience or something they've gone through and how like they've learned from it, you know, and they like, you know, it's like trial and error. Like they kind of just keep trying and trying, you know.
Right.
Whereas like a lot of people don't understand to absorb that experience and take it as like a learning experience, you know, learn from it and use it later on, not to do that again or whatever, you know.
Okay.
Right.
Well, this was good. So that's the end of our second
Alright,
video.
MosDef
Adios.
squad.
Peace.